Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Rachel.
So today I wanted to talk about credit cards, something that pretty much everyone has, seems ubiquitous or everywhere. That's what ubiquitous means, but it's everywhere in today's society. Everyone's got a credit card. And the other day, my son asked me, how do they work? So I thought, well, that's a great topic for how the way the world works is let's talk about credit cards and how we pay for things in the world we live in. So it's a little piece of plastic and you keep it in your wallet. And the way it works is you apply for these things and the credit card company either approves you or they don't approve you. That's number one. You got to tell them.
How do they choose whether or not to approve you or not approve you?
That's an excellent question. They want to know, how much money do you make? Do you have a lot of other debt? What is your credit score? And that is something that is kept at the 3 credit report bureaus. They will ask them, hey, how's Brittany doing on paying her bills? She pay on time? You know, how does she deal with her money? Does she have debts that she can't pay? So that is going to make up your credit score. And if those credit bureaus say, hey, you know, she pays her bills on time, she handles her money well, you'll get a higher credit score. Also, the longer you have credit, the higher your score can go. So the older you are, your score will go up. You'll be deemed more credit worthy.
So I have a question about that. So you don't want a bad credit score, obviously. But what if you have no credit score?
Well, that's another good question. When you're young, when you're a teenager, you're going to have basically no credit score. They don't know how you're going to handle money. You probably don't know either. Yeah. You might have some ideas and some values about debt. But when it comes right down to it, how are you going to handle money? So you got to prove yourself when you're young. Most people, I think, get their first credit card probably when they're in college. So like 18, 19. And on college campuses, when I went to college, those credit card companies, they really want to draw you in. They want to give you some credit right off the bat because they want you in debt, right? Ultimately, the reason they want you in debt, they want to loan you money, is because they want to charge you interest. Interest is the price of money. And if you don't pay the credit card off every month and you leave a balance, in other words, you don't pay for everything that you bought, then you're going to get charged interest every month. And that can add up real fast.
Let's just put this kind of like in story terms. So let's say I get a credit card and I get approved for, let's say I get $500. We'll keep it low. I get $500.
$500.
I go to the store and I say, I want to buy this dress that costs $50. And I'm like, that's great. I have the credit card. I'm going to swipe it. That's $50. But then I don't pay the bill. So, well, I should have to pay $50 for that pay period, right? I have to pay back what I used. But let's say I pay the very bare minimum. So I owe $50, but the card says, but you know what? You really only have to pay $5 to keep your account in good standing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that sounds like free money. I'm only going to pay $5 this much. But then I get the next bill and it's a little higher than what I initially paid. I'm not good with percentages, so I'm not going to pretend to do an interest. But let's say I originally paid $50 and now it turns into like it was $53. Right? So it goes up. So why would the balance go up even though I paid a little bit down? So that would be what you were explaining, right? That's interest.
Yeah, that's the interest accruing, building up. And you might think that it's a good idea to only pay the minimum required monthly payment, but that's a terrible idea. Don't get into that habit because it rolls over and it adds up because guess what? You didn't just want that dress. You also found some shoes and then you went to the store, you got some ice cream and you got, $120 worth of groceries and you went out to eat with your friends. All of a sudden, you've bumped up against $500. You've spent all of your $500 credit limit.
And if your balance was, if the interest, let's say, was 10%, how much would 10% of that 500 be?
Oh, that's math.
I know. 50.
But it adds up really quickly.
So your bill went from 500 to 550.
Yeah.
Just magically. So yeah.
So that dress that was $50 can cost you a lot more if you don't pay off your credit card every month. Right? Mm-hmm. So be really, really careful when you start to get into credit cards. Now, because they can really catch up to you really fast if you think that you've got $500 to spend, but actually in your bank account, which is different, say you only have $250, what are you going to do? You can get into a lot of trouble really fast with credit cards if you don't have some discipline about spending. So,
which I did when I was younger. I can admit this now. I looked at it as free money. And so I kept thinking, well, they're only saying I have to pay $25 a month. Great. I'll just keep spending and spending. And eventually I spent thousands and thousands because I didn't understand. And I was not lucky enough to have this podcast when I was younger. So I did not know. It's called financial literacy. I did not know anything. And so it didn't really occur to me what I was doing. And I had to learn the hard way when I had to pay all that back.
Yeah. And that's really hard. And what happens if you spend the $500 that your credit limit is, the next time you try to go buy something, you're going to get denied. So your card will get denied because they'll run it and it'll talk to the computers, bloop, 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 and they'll say, whoops, Brittany has spent all of her allotted credit allowance. She's cut off. So
back in the day, they used to cut it. And that was like a big thing because they didn't have the computer system as it was. And so if it wouldn't, they had to make a copy of your card. I'm trying to think, the movie Home Alone 2 is a good example. You'll see it when they run Kevin's card. They have to pull out this big machine and it's like carbon paper, if you guys even know what that is. And you would the credit card has the numbers that stick out. It used to, they kind of pop out a little bit and you have to rub the card to get the number. And so it was harder back then because if you didn't have the money in your account, they wouldn't find out right away. And so people could go and use their card until it caught up with them. And then if it didn't work at a grocery store or wherever you were, they would cut it. And it was like a big deal. I don't know that they do that anymore.
I don't know, but it can be really embarrassing to have your card declined. And then usually people will fish for another card. A lot of times people will have more than one card. And that's okay. So I want to impress one more time upon you kids. Please be careful with credit cards when you get them. Keep in mind that you need to pay off the balance every month, and that balance can sneak up really fast, and just be really, really careful. Be mindful of what you have in the bank account. So, different from a credit card is a debit card. A debit card goes right out of your bank account. So you don't have anything to pay off every month. It just takes the money right out of your bank account that you already have. So that means you don't pay interest. Oh. That's real money.
Minus the dollars. We can get into the dollars and gold in another time.
Yeah. But let me tell you something about debit cards. They can also be dangerous because that money is gone. And if somebody charged you something incorrect, then too bad. The money's gone. You're probably never going to get it back. If somebody charges you the wrong thing with a credit card, you can dispute the charge, and then that amount will be kind of held on to until the credit card company figures out, did they really charge you the wrong thing or not? So
now, some debit cards have fraud protection. I know one time my credit card number or my debit card number was stolen somehow. There's a bunch of creepy ways that can happen. But the bank noticed a weird charge, and so they paused my card and called me, and they were able to give me the money back. I don't know if every bank account does that. That's happened to me one time.
Good for your bank. That's not an automatic feature of a debit card. That is really good to have because they don't automatically have that. So I would just caution you, if you have financial control of yourself, use credit cards because it has that extra layer of protection if something goes wrong with the charge. Like if you get charged $3,000 instead of $300. If you're using a credit card, you can dispute that and it's going to be okay. If you're using a debit card, you might be in some trouble. That money might be gone. So those are the pros and cons with debit and credit and the difference between those two types of cards.
Yeah, there's one thing too I wanted to point out, if that's okay, if you're
Go ahead.
That I wish somebody would have told me. So I was raised and I was told to never get a credit card because my parents were so worried because they weren't good with self-control. And so they told me to just never get one. And so finally when I got one, and I did it wrong the first time, and I did exactly what you're warning against, but as I've done it as I'm older, I have realized how great it is, and one, how fast you can build your credit, and two, I don't like to say free money because I don't want to use that term incorrectly, but there are point systems on cards. So basically, I never, ever spend money on a credit card that I can't pay for right away from my actual bank account. So every month I pay everything and then I don't have interest. But I have different cards that have different points. So I have a travel credit card. And every time I swipe that card, it gives me points. And so I am going to Paris next 2 months from now. And I only had to pay $200 for that ticket because the credit card, I had so many points that I was able to use that for most of my ticket. And I do that so that I can travel. That's the only way I've been able to like see the world. And then other cards have, so some cards are like airline cards. I have an American airline card. That one does, miles, or a Delta card or a United Miles card. Or you have just like a travel credit card, or there's some where you just get cash back every time you use it, or hotel points. But this is great stuff that I didn't know about. So if you can use self-control, if you can use credit cards correctly, you really can have free money on the table if you do it correctly. Yeah.
I have a travel card too. And my son and I are planning a trip to Japan at some point, maybe this summer, because in homeschool, we're learning Japanese, both of us. I'm learning it with him. And then our reward, if we do good, is maybe we'll go to Japan. And I have enough points actually to pay for one whole airline ticket.
Isn't that great?
It's amazing. And I also have cruise credit cards. I remember I used to have a Discover card where you would build up these cash rewards, and then you could go shopping on their website and buy something like a watch or
just use it to pay your bill. So one of mine gives me cash like that, and then I just use that cash to pay off the bill. So there are so many great things credit cards can do for you. They even have one now. Most places will not accept rent or a mortgage payment with a credit card, but there's actually a whole new credit card that works specifically so you can build your credit with rent payments and mortgage payments with a card that goes directly to your bank account, but it's still credit. So there are all these cool ways that you can use credit cards to your advantage. But like Rachel said, you have to make sure you have self-control and that you never spend anything that isn't already in your bank account. So I never use my debit card anymore. I only use the credit cards and then immediately pay them off with my bank account.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned building credit, because that's another important concept, I think. There's a really good thing about getting a credit card and paying it off responsibly, and that is you do build up that credit score for later on when you want to like apply for a mortgage or some other kind of loan, like a car loan. If you've been able to manage a credit card responsibly, that looks really good for you on your credit report. And also, the soonest you can get a credit card, go ahead and do it. Again, be really, really careful. But the age of your oldest line of credit really helps you on down the road. So get a credit card, handle it responsibly, pay it off every month without fail, and you can start building your credit and
get free points to travel.
Get travel points. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how credit cards work.
No, I think that's so important because, again, I was not taught any of this. And not only did I do credit cards wrong the first time, but now that I know about points and learning how to travel, my life has gotten so much more enriched because I know how to use them well, and it's building my credit and all that. So this such important life skills that probably not enough people know. So yeah, that's great. We will wrap it up there. Great topic, Rachel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. And until next time, guys, we will talk to you later.
See you later.